our second Facebook Friday. And thank you guys for, I said this is the third time I've thanked you, but for being here, for being a part of this. This is a series, a 4-part series we're doing about social media, about Facebook and a little bit of Instagram specifically. Trying to kind of do an overview because so much has changed over the past couple of years, the past 12 months specifically. And today we're talking about, I thought about the curriculum over the next 4 weeks, and I each week I kind of want to say, today we're talking about the most important part of it. So I'm going to say that now because I believe that. Today we're talking about one of the most important parts of social media. The part that people, I would say, have the most difficulty with. And I'm going to warn you guys right now, I have been on calls genuinely just about all day. So my voice is already starting to go. So I do have some water here some like LaCroix here to water, but I'm sorry if I'm coughing a little bit today. It's just a sore throat. So today we're talking about content. We're talking about what to post, what to put on social media. We'll do a little bit of course, how to actually do that. But then we're also going to talk about ads towards the end, what it means to boost a post. And this is a pretty big conversation because, like I said, getting the page set up, getting your social media up and running it's time, right? You got to get the photos, you got to get the information. Definitely takes some time, but at the end of the day, what you post is the most important thing. We can't treat our social media like this, like it's a sort of, I guess you could say, a website where you don't really need to update it that frequently. Social media is a stream of information. I know that it's probably redundant, but I once had let me use this example. I had an agent once invite me to her Facebook page, and on Facebook, and I went, and she had not posted anything in 3 years. This was 2019, and she had not posted since 2016. And I had to have a conversation with her about the whole concept of how Facebook works, because it's not a page you just set up and have the information. If you want to stay top of mind, you have to post consistently. I'm operating under the assumption that most of us here are familiar with Facebook on a personal level. And that may not be completely true, but I'm going to kind of speak a little bit like it is. When I share my screen here, this is me going on Facebook as JD. This is me, I'm on my desktop right now, of course, but I might as well be on my phone. This is what it's like. We go to Facebook and we scroll, and we see things from our friends. We see things from news organizations we follow. We see ads. I signed up for one bird watching magazine, and I'm getting bird watching ads like there's no tomorrow, which is pleasant, to be honest with you. It's pleasant to see birds on Facebook as opposed to politics. So this is how we consume content on Facebook. We scroll. I'm going to use soccer as an example, because if you know me, I love soccer. My team is Manchester United. They're my boys. I don't go on Facebook every day and go, I wonder what Manchester United posted today, and go up to the search bar and type in Manchester United and click on their page. That's not how we use Facebook. That's just not how it's meant to be used, and that's not how consumers use it. The way they use it, I'm supposed to be in one of these photos, actually. Did they do this one? Is this an updated one? No, it's from April. I'm supposed to be in the new one. We take information, and they again, Star Wars, right? Big Star Wars fan. They posted something, and I've seen that content. It's not like I went to the Star Wars page and said, what did Star Wars post today? Now, there's a lot of stuff that goes into what you see in your newsfeed. They call that the algorithm, right? Everyone always talks about the algorithm. I always see people posting those things, Facebook's changing their algorithm. Comment below to make sure that I see your stuff. Things like that. Kind of spoiler, those don't really work the way that they are told that the way that we're told they work. But this is how we consume content on Facebook. This is how we use this platform. Same with Instagram. We click on the app, we start scrolling, and we start looking. Oops, people are trying to get in. I want to make sure I get them in. And we start looking at that content. We don't go out of our way to look at other stuff. So all that to say is, what we post on our social media is the most important part of the page. The page needs to look good. We need to have a good setup page. We have to have a good profile picture. We have to have a good cover photo and information. especially for compliance, like I've shared. But what's important is what we post, how often we post, stuff like that. Now, there's a couple differentiations I want to make before we get too far into this. First of all, I want to talk about the difference between posting and boosting. So, when I talk about posting, I mean doing non-paid content, not paying Facebook for anything. You are posting to your business page. So, for example, my business page has 100 people. Let's say I have 100 likes on my page. If I post something to my page, I share a new listing, I upload a video, those 100-ish people have the opportunity to see my post. Now, they're not going to see, not everybody sees everything that every page posts, but that's where it's going to be limited to, is those 100 people. Now, if one of those people shares your video, then their friends are going to see it. And if one of their friends shares it, then and it's going to kind of spiderweb like that. And that's ideally how we want to market things, right? Like in a perfect world, we would want people to share our content like crazy. But when we talk about posting, we're basically talking about posting within our sphere. Staying top of mind, staying in front of people that we know have worked with or are on our page. When we talk about boosting or advertising, or honestly using the word marketing, a lot of us use Facebook lingo a little bit differently, so I want to be clear on this. When we talk about boosting or advertising or even marketing, we're talking about paying Facebook to show our content to other people. Not people within our sphere, but I can tell Facebook, hey, I want people who live in Holland, who have recently visited Zillow, and who are interested in real estate to see my ads. And Facebook, I'll pay them, and they'll show that to people. So when we talk about or sponsored or advertising or boosting, we are trying to get in front of new people. And when we're talking about posting, we're just talking about getting in front of our sphere, staying top of mind. They are both of equal importance. I have seen multiple campaigns that get people new clients, new leads into their business. I have also seen people staying top of mind with easy content, get referrals and get listings. And I've seen the reverse of it. There's one story I saw on a Facebook group once. I use this as an example a lot, but there was an agent in the Las Vegas area who had worked with a client and had worked with them to buy a $6 million listing in the area. And 12 months later, on social, he was like friends with them on Facebook or something. 12 months later, he saw that they had actually sold that listing and bought another one in that same price range with a different agent 12 months later. Now, I would love to get to the point in my life where I can just willy-nilly buy and sell $6 million properties. Like, that sounds like a pretty cool lifestyle. But what was key to this was that he had done this with a different agent. So he reached out to them and he just said, hey, JD and Jeanette, congrats on the new home. I saw you guys bought a new property. That's great. I just wanted to reach out and ask, is there any particular reason why you worked with so-and-so and not me? I don't mean this invasively. I just want to know, if there's anything I can work on to improve my business in the future. And they just said, oh, you didn't do anything wrong. We just couldn't remember your name. We'd forgotten about you. And it was within a year of working with them that he had been forgotten by his clients. And he lost $12 million, give or take, worth of volume, all because he didn't stay top of mind. He didn't put them on an email campaign. He didn't bring them to his business page so that they see his content. He didn't do any sort of follow-up. And he lost $12 million worth of volume in 2 deals. So it is of equal importance that we post regularly to our sphere and do advertising campaigns in order to expand our business. I have seen agents in this company go from 0 likes to 1,000 likes, or just under 1,000 likes, in the span of 12 months. I've seen people post one thing on Facebook and get a listing appointment from that thing. It doesn't happen all the time. I'm not saying if you post one thing on Facebook, boom, you're getting a listing every single time. But it does happen. It is a powerful and effective tool. We talked about the stats last week in terms of, the cost per click, the cost per view. So that's really what we're going to focus on a lot today, is how to post, what to post, and then the actual advertising part of it. There's one thing I wanted to get up, because I did say we were going to start with this last week. I have a little bit of a PDF, a little presentation thing here that I call Facebook lingo. Now, where did I put under PDFs? Facebook lingo. Yes. Okay. So I have some terms here. Now, like I said, there's a lot of terms on Facebook that get bandied around very regularly, and we might not always know what those terms mean. So I'm going to upload this PDF actually right into the chat here for everybody. So you should be able to, it's one slide. It's just a little, a referral sheet if you need to look at this. But I would love for you guys to have this instead of me just showing it to you. So Facebook lingo, it's a couple years old now, but the lingo should still be the same. All right, so I just shared it in the chat. So let me share my screen so we can look at this. So Facebook lingo. These are terms that people use regularly, and these are the quote-unquote official terms from Facebook. So, so not the stuff that other people would be sort of saying and whatnot. So, post. A post is anything you put on Facebook. A post is a video. A post is an article, a photo. You are posting a piece of content. That's a post. Publish. When you publish something, that's basically like making it go live. You're putting it out there. You can schedule stuff. Actually, that's the next thing. So let me get there in a second. But publishing means you're putting it out there. It's live on your page. If it's on your business page, that means it's discoverable, and people can find that. Schedule means that you can schedule something to be published at a later date. So I'll show you guys how to do that later today. But basically, I'll talk about how I believe you should be posting 4 to 5 times a week on your business page minimum, but that does not necessarily mean that every day you need to carve out time to do that. You could schedule some stuff all on one, schedule on Monday for the next week, and then that's stuff that's going out for you. So scheduling means you're scheduling it to go out later. Reactions. This one we should all be relatively familiar with. A reaction is basically when I hover over the like button here, and there are all of these things. These are reactions. It used to just be likes, but of course, I don't know, probably like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, they added all of these different options. So that's a react. Well, it's got to be 3 years ago because I have it on this thing. Comment. Someone comments or leaves a thought on your post, right? So I'm looking at this. Oh, look, this director's having a movie come out. Can't wait, right? That's me commenting on. Why isn't it letting me do that? Commenting on a post. That's what a comment is. A share. So a share basically means that someone took this piece of content and put it on another page or account. Meaning I can share something to my business page, or I can share something to my personal page. And when I do that, it will credit the original source. So I wonder if I could find anything while scrolling. Of course, I'm probably not going to get as lucky as I wanted to. Why would I? But let me just go to my personal page because I know I've got something on my personal page. Scroll down to a post here. Keep going. Right here. Okay, so this is from my music page like I talked about before. It's got me right here as the person who's sharing it. But down here, you can see the original page that this originated from, which was the King Ink page. So when I share something, I'm taking content from one page and sharing it to another. That's what sharing means. Reach. So this is where we start to get into some of the businessy terms. Reach means how many people saw your post. This means they came across it on Facebook or on their newsfeed. They may have seen it and looked at it and interacted with it, or they may have just scrolled right past it. But if I go to my, just my newsfeed, and I start scrolling, this is an ad for the New Yorker, right? All of a sudden, me just having this appear on my screen, that appears as a reach for them if they look at their analytics. Now, engagement is meaning how many people interacted with your post. So did they watch your video? Did they click on the link? Did they comment? Did they share? Taking an action is what signifies engagement. Now, at the end of the day, in a very general sense, there are exceptions to this rule, but in a general sense, when we're doing advertisements, the engagement is what's important, not so much the reach. Because you can get your ad in front of hundreds of thousands of people on Facebook, but if no one's interacting with it, here, this is actually a great example. We had a manager once in one of our offices in one of our regions, and I'm going to keep all of it anonymous, accidentally run an ad from their office page. Now, to accidentally do that, you have to go through about 2 or 3 different layers, so I don't know how it happened. But basically, they had run an ad for $20 a day, And I caught it about 3 weeks into the ad. So there had been about 340, I don't remember the specific amount, 340 or $370 spent over the past month on this ad. Now, just to fast forward to the end, because it was so out of line with what we had normally done, Facebook actually refunded the ad because they we made a case that it was an accident and we did not mean for it to happen, which is very rare for them to allow. But we did get our money back. But so I was in that area. I was visiting that office and I saw the ad was running. And the reason I saw it was running was because I saw the ad on my Facebook account. I was looking on Facebook and I saw the ad from the office. And the ad was the logo for Coldwell Banker and that DBA. And then above it, it just said, "We are a full service real estate marketing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." It was kind of just the bio of that office. And it wasn't a very attractive looking ad, right? It didn't tell me why I should click or what action or anything. But I was like, I wonder where this ad's going to take me. So I clicked on the ad from my news feed, and all it did was it brought me to the business page for that office. It didn't do anything special or unique or give me anything else. So the ad didn't look good, and it didn't send me anywhere. So I say all this because when I turned off the ad, I went into the analytics, and over the past 3 weeks, the ad had been seen in that area over 97,000 times over the course of 3.5 weeks. 97,000 times it had been seen on Facebook. It had a total of 4 clicks. 4 clicks over the past 30 days or so. Your ads are not effective if they are not being interacted with. Why are you paying for all people to see all of your ads if they don't work? I believe I might have shared this example last week too, where I saw an ad from a rival real estate company, and they said click here to look at our listings, and I clicked on the link and the link didn't work. So they were paying for an ineffective ad. So you can reach all the people in the world, but if no one's clicking on your ad, then it's a pointless ad. I'm going to send one message to our marketing group quick because I've had 3 of the designers reach out in the past 10 minutes. 2 seconds here. One second. Okay. Just letting them know where I am. So all that. So my point, like I said, is basically reach is great. Having people see your ad is great, but if they're not taking actions, then what's the point of the ad? Those are those cases where people start to tell me Facebook doesn't work, Facebook's ineffective. It's like, well, your ad's not good. You wouldn't just kind of hand draw a sketch and submit that to the newspaper and say run my sketch and then be like, my ad sucks. It's like, well, you didn't put any effort into it. And then timestamp, the very last term here, the date and time something was posted. This appears on every post. This is the key here. Clicking on this brings you to a URL specific to that post. Let me show you what I mean by that. So when I'm going to Facebook, when I'm scrolling on Facebook here, and I see, I don't know, I want to find something that's not, maybe something that's just real estate related here. Of course, nothing real estate related is going to show up now. Come on, guys, give me something to work with here. Unsurprisingly, there's a lot of politics and memes. Okay, here's a music thing. A band I like, they did a concert all in bubbles, as you can see right here. They all wore bubbles on stage, and they had an audience all in their little bubbles. Maybe I go, ooh, look, I want to share this, or I want to look at the timestamp. So you see where it has the page name. Right underneath that, it says yesterday at 11:30 a.m. Or if I scroll down to this one right here, it says 1 hour. Do you see that underneath that ad? If I keep scrolling to Anthony Scaramucci with his cool car, 3 hours. These are all timestamps. And not only do they tell you how recent that content is, but when I click, if I go where it says yesterday at 11:30, if I click on that timestamp, it will actually bring me to a page, a URL specific to this post. And so this will come in handy in a little bit where I talk about copy and pasting stuff, but I just want to let you know, all of these timestamps, they actually have URLs specific to your content. So new stuff here, again, I can click on that one, I can click on this one, they bring me to specific links. So those are some terms that are just Facebook lingo that we talk about. Let's start talking about posting content and what that looks like. So we talked about, let me get to the right part here. All right, content. So If you guys have seen the schedule, next week we are talking about lead gen, and Peter Hopkins is going to work with us on using lead gen and social ad engine and stuff like that. So we're not going to talk about lead gen today. We're going to talk about the other part of posting, because just like there is advertising and posting, there are also, and this is a generalization, two schools of content. One of those schools of content, again, is just like getting new business. It's lead generating. Okay, you want to do an ad to get new leads. What is your ad going to look like? What tools are you going to leverage? Are you going to do listings to leads? Are you going to do social ad engine? What tools are you going to leverage? And the other part of it that is important is staying top of mind with people, building relationships. If you were on my training, I know that I see some people from Florida who were on our Florida training yesterday morning. If you were here last week, the two keywords that we're going to talk a lot about today is value and relationships. Those are the two keys I want you to put everything through that you're posting. Does this bring value to my audience? And does this help build relationships with my audience? So that's the sort of content we're going to focus on today specifically. And so I just want to say that from the get-go. So I don't want you to be like, well, nothing is lead generating. Well, that's next week. So let's take a look at the slide here. In terms of posting content, it should be all about you. This is the thing, guys, whether you have listings or not. If you have listings, of course you should be posting them. If you're hosting open houses, of course you should be posting those. And we're going to talk about that on the next slide. But at the end of the day, your listings will come and go. Your open houses will come and go. You are the bedrock of your business. You are the reason people want to work with you, because they trust you, because they like you, because you're good at your job. So you are the bedrock of your business, and you are what needs to be shared on your page. Whether it's through video or photos or blogging or any of this stuff, you are the forefront of your business. So your page should show me who you are and why I should work with you. Mix up the content that you post. This is a pretty important one, guys. I see a lot of the time, I see people just having a blog post to their website over and over and over. They're not putting any photos up. They're not putting any other stuff up. That's not something that you want to be doing. Are you working on updating the Schmidt calendar? Hi, Virginia. It depends on which region you're in. Elizabeth Glass works on the trainings in Ohio. She can work on that calendar. And if you're talking about Florida, that would be Terry Hoyle. So I actually don't really touch those calendars so much because I'm only one aspect of the larger training team. But I would reach out to either Elizabeth in Ohio or Terry in Florida. But this series should be on both of those calendars already. So, like I was saying, I understand the desire to automate a lot of social media stuff. And I do believe there are some things you can automate. But again, in terms of what we're talking about today, you can't automate you. Looking at the names over here, you can't automate Marty. You can't automate Aaron. You can't automate Ted or Cheryl. You guys are who you are. That's the reason people want to work with you. And if you just have a blog post for you every single day from a third-party company, I saw one that was literally one agent was paying for a company where they weren't even putting any effort. They were just saying new blog. So you went to their page, and if you scrolled back, it was just link after link after link that said new blog. There's no value for me there as a consumer. You're not telling me what the blog's about. You're not giving me anything in return. Why should I click on these things? So mix up the content that you post. This is also hugely important. Make it personal, but keep it professional. This should probably go without saying, but on your personal page, you guys can feel free to post whatever you want about politics, about religion, about controversial issues. You can post whatever you want. That is your personal page. And before we get to the business page part, I will say though, although it is obviously you're right and your prerogative, and I fully support that, you need to be prepared for the consequences of that. Because anything right now that you post, unsurprisingly, is going to, and I'm talking specifically politics, let's just say with elections and campaigns. I don't want to talk about social issues. Anything you post for candidates is going to alienate just about half of the country, half of your sphere on Facebook, more or less. So even though it's your right to do that, you need to be prepared for the consequences. And one of the things I don't think that we realize sometimes is how secret those consequences are. What I mean by that, if I see somebody go online on Facebook, a realtor, and trash the candidate that I support, say a bunch of horrible things about that person, chances are I'm not going to comment and tell them, I'm never working with you again, or that was inappropriate, our relationship is over. I'm just going to make that decision in my heart or in my house, tell my wife, I can't believe so-and-so posted it. That's ridiculous. Like, yeah, we're not working with them again. But we're not going to tell you that. So you're going to lose clients and lose relationships, and you're not even going to know it. They're just going to decide that they're not going to work with you. So some people will tell you don't post anything political on your personal page even. I believe it's your right to do that, but there are going to be consequences, and you need to be prepared for those. I do think it's probably not worth it. I don't think you need to, but I also feel like we all feel very strongly about certain topics, and if we're going to speak out about them, we're going to speak out. And that's our right. So just be prepared for the consequences of that. However, your business page is a completely separate story. I don't need to talk about this too much because it should be, kind of common sense. Don't post about politics on your business page. Don't post about religion or controversial topics on your business page, because guess what? Not only are you representing you, but you're representing your office, your fellow agents in your office, and your entire brand. And so you are representing a slew of people who we don't always agree on everything, guys. So don't post political content from your business page. Thank you, Rhonda. Yeah, I could grandstand about this for a while. I'm a very big believer in sharing what you believe, but I also believe I jokingly, if I were to go on Facebook and say this could be anything for any region. If I were to say go University of Michigan, well, I just alienated half of my friends who like Michigan State. Same could be in Ohio, same could be in Florida, right, guys? So my point, that's a very light example, but my point is purely you will alienate people, and they're not going to tell you if you're alienating them or not. They're just going to decide to not work with you. So, but you should make it personal. We're going to talk about this on the next couple of pages here. Keep it professional. Make sure that people get to know you, though. Your page should not seem robotic. I talked about this with bios last week. Always, especially on social media, you could have differing opinions on websites and other platforms, but on social media, always talk in the first person. I want to connect with you. I don't want to connect with your page. Your page should be an extension of you. So if you're sharing a video, don't say, JD created this video about the new market report or the new market conditions. Say, I wanted to share with you the new market conditions. I am connecting with you on this. I'm not, trying to push ourselves further apart. Social media is a very relationship heavy medium. So what to post? Okay, what am I posting on my page, JD? What kind of content should I share? The bottom line, the phrase I always like to go back to is that you should become your town's digital mayor. You should be giving your audience value. And I don't know if I talked about this philosophy too much last week. I think I did the jab, jab, hook philosophy of a jab is when you give somebody value without expecting it. Whether that's posting an article, whether that's sharing a coupon, whether that's doing a client appreciation event, a jab is giving something without expecting something in return. And a hook, the right hook is when you go in for the ask. As a hunter, you go in for the kill, right? You're saying, work with me, send me referrals, give me a call if you know someone in real estate. That's the right hook. The mentality is, if you only right hook over and over and over, you're not going to grow your business because all you do is ask people for something. You're not giving them anything in return. Why should I give you? With lead gen especially, this is a huge thing. Sign up for my newsletter. Why? Why should I sign up for your newsletter? I'm already on 30 frickin' newsletters that I don't want to be on. Why do I want another one? Tell me what you're offering me, what value I will get, and then I'll consider, adding to your newsletter or joining your campaigns, whatever that is. So give your audience value. Now, I've separated content into 4 categories that you can see on the screen here. These are guidelines. I love the Pirates of the Caribbean line. They're more like guidelines than rules. I know I butchered that, something like that. These are not separate categories that are hard lines, one the other, etc. These are just categories that things can fall into, and as we go, there will be things that fall into multiple categories. So number one, business and company, right? This is the bread and butter. Our listings, our solds, our new listings, open houses, price improvements, things like that, right? The business. We do need to be posting that stuff because we are realtors, right? You guys are buying and selling properties. But the average consumer is only in the real estate market every 7 to 9 years. So if all you post are listings, why and I just sold my property and bought a new one with you, why should I stay on your page? If all you're posting is listings, what value is there for me? Sure, you may post, I might have a friend who's going to buy and I go, oh yeah, shoot, that's a cool listing. Hey, Nick, why don't you go take a look at, Cheryl's new listing or something like that. But that's going to be a rare occasion. If I'm not going to buy for another 7 to 9 years, you need to give me something else. So that part's important. Of course, announcements, articles from the company, we'll talk about that as we go. Lifestyle. This is sort of my catch-all category, where if it doesn't fall into anything else, I kind of say it goes into the lifestyle category. When it comes to this sort of content, I am of the belief that we should not just be posting real estate content, but home-related content. Homeowners, family, stuff like that. Because again, we're in the business of selling home, of selling memories, of selling a place of safety for people. And we're not just buying and selling houses, we're selling homes. And there is a lot of content that falls into those categories. And I'm going to show you some resources for this in a couple minutes here. So lifestyle content is going to be anything that is about home, interior design, your gardening, right? 3 quick tips on how to blah, blah, blah. Things about your pets. Those are all going to be lifestyle. Things about your kids, lifestyle content. Local and community content. This is going to be things that happen in your town. Are there local events going on? Are there new businesses opening up? Are you partnering with a new business? Photos of downtown, your farmer's market. Anything that has to do with your community is hugely important because people want someone who knows their area. I live in Holland, Michigan. If I'm working with a realtor here, I want someone who knows Holland. I don't want some Joe Schmo from across the state trying to help me buy and sell my home. I want someone who knows my community. And I think this is a bit of a Real G, Coldwell Banker, and C21 sort of thing. We're part of national brands. I think that's one of their phrases, local knowledge, national power, or something like that, right? We've got the knowledge of being a local part of this community while still having an amazing brand behind you. So leverage those things. And then finally, personal. So personal purely means something that has you in it. I'm not saying share your personal deepest, darkest secrets. I'm not saying, share weird things that you would share on your personal page, on your business page. Personal just means you are in it. This could be photos with your clients at a sold, 6 feet apart. This could be you at a work event, but these are all, personal just means having you in it. Now, this can be a fine line for a lot of different people. I've seen agents who have their kids in photos. Every once in a while they'll do a bit of a family photo on their business page. Maybe for Christmas they'll share, from the world goes to you. I've seen people not put that at all on there. They want, they don't want anything more than a headshot on there. It's going to differ for each person, but again, this is what makes your page unique. And I would say that the more you're able to share who you are, the more success you're going to have with building those relationships. I've seen people, there's one agent, and I'm sure we'll talk about his stuff in a couple days or a couple weeks here. There's one agent in Big Rapids, Michigan, one of our agents. His name is Chris Jane. He does amazing videos on his Facebook page for his listings, for him, more just personal branding stuff. And he's had clients want to work with him because of his personality in the videos, because they've seen him on Facebook and they like him. So you being on your page, you being present is incredibly important. Now, like I said, these are just kind of general categories. Let's say that you take a photo at your office is having a Homes for Dogs event, and you take a photo with one of the puppies at that event and say, the event's today, come on down from 2 to 4 and adopt a new fur baby or something like that. Well, that's personal because you're in it. That's a community event because it's an adoption event for your community, and it's a company thing because it's a company event. So just goes to show all of these things. They all fall into separate categories, or they all fall into multiple categories. The opposite of separate. They all fall into multiple categories. So I want to show 3 more things today. I know I'm not like we're wrapping up, but I want to show you guys how to post. I want to show you where to get content from, and then I want to talk about doing an ad on Facebook. And I'm only going to kind of touch on that because Peter's going to cover that a bit more next week as well. So let's talk about how to post. I'm going to go to my business page. My JW Real Estate. Is that it? Is that my business page? You'd think I would know. My test page. Okay. I don't know who this guy is. What's my URL then? Huh. That's fun. Found a new guy. JD Overgold Sales. That's what I put it. Okay, so I'm on my test page, and I want to show us how to share content. Now, whatever DBA you are, whatever brand you are, your company has a blog already. So, for example, Coldwell Banker blog, blog.coldwellbanker.com. RealG has one. Century 21 has one. All of our brands, all of these brands have their own blogs that you can pull content from. But this is not the only place you can pull content from. If I go to hgtv.com, they've got content here that might be perfect for my page. If I go to, I don't know, PetSmart, maybe they have a blog, right? So I want to show you guys, what I'm going to show you right now is how to share an article to your business page. But there's one thing I want us to keep in mind. This thing that I'm going to show you how to do, this works across the internet. This works on our listing websites. This works on the blog, on HGTV. This method is purely for sharing content to your page. But it's not independent of each website. It's not a different method for each site. So in terms of content and sort of this lifestyle stuff, which we're going to focus on, just like I said a second ago, it's going to work for any website. But my real piece of advice on this would be share stuff that you are interested in. Don't just share stuff for the sake of sharing it. Share stuff that you care about and you are interested in, because that's what's going to help you connect with people. For example, I've got my 2 dogs over here. I've talked about that probably too many times. I'm a dog guy. We're an adoption family. If I go to the Coldwell Banker blog, or I went to any website, if I looking for content, if I put in pet, all of this stuff comes up in terms of pets. If I would put in dog stuff would come up. And here's my point. This blog and a lot of the real estate specific blogs, their content is like 50% great, 50% don't post it. Because here's the other thing, guys. Remember who your audience is. Your audience is your sphere, your customers, your clients, your friends, your family. It's not other realtors. So don't share content that's going to be great for other realtors, but make absolutely no sense to somebody who's just a buyer or a seller or a former client. Know your audience. Your audience is your sphere. So I might look at this content here, and I might go, hey, you know what? Gus, you over there, Gus? What's up, bud? Guster. Okay. Guster, we adopted in Los Angeles when we lived out in LA, and then we moved him back to Michigan when we moved back. So I look at this article, 10 things you need to know before moving with pets, and I might go, that's perfect. So I'm going to click on that article, and I'm going to scroll down. I know this might sound redundant, but I know that nobody here does it. If you're going to share an article, at the very least, skim an article. Skim it to make sure that it's appropriate. At my old job, I had one of my writers who was managing some social with me share an article on Facebook, and it was, it seemed innocuous, and it turns out that it got political halfway through, and he didn't realize it because he only looked at the first paragraph. So skim what you're reading so that you know what's being shared. So I go, yep, these are all great things. Update your address with the vet. We didn't do that originally. So talk to your current vet, find a new vet. We didn't do that. That's actually really useful information. So I decided this is good information that I want to share with my clients. So here's how I'm going to do this. Right now, I've got the link to the blog right here, and I've got my business page in another tab. Now, most blogs, most websites nowadays do have a little section, and you can see if I move the Zoom thing, on the right-hand side over here, that allow you to share from these little icons. You can do that, but I personally like taking this other route, and I'm going to tell you why as I do that. So instead of doing that, I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to highlight the URL. Most blogs, if you're using a specific article, most of them, the URL that you're going to share is going to have the title of the article in the URL. So here's what I mean. The title of this article is 10 Things You Need to Know Before Moving with Pets. If I look up here, it's blog.coldwellbanker.com/movingwithpetsadvice. So I go, okay, this is the right link. So while it's highlighted, I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to copy that link. I'm going to go back to my business page. And then right here where it says write a post, I'm going to click on that. I'm going to right click again, and I'm going to paste that link in there. And voila. The photo comes over, the headline comes over, and the link comes over. Now you could just click post here, but we're not going to stop right there. Because if this is how I shared it, this is how it would appear to people. They'd see the dog, they'd see the headline, and they would see the weird little URL right across the top. But they're not getting any useful information from that. So here's what I want us to do, guys. Every single time that we're posting something to Facebook, we need to tell people why we're sharing it. We need to give them a little bit about this listing, this article, or something like that. Tell them why this is bringing them value. So if you remember while we were looking over here, 10 things to know before you're moving your pet, I had just said, well, number 2, talking to your current vet and finding a new vet. Those were things that we didn't do. We got a call from one of the vets that was like, Gus is overdue on this and this and this. And I'm like, no, he's not. He just hasn't lived in Los Angeles for 12 months. We didn't tell our vet that we were moving. So those are things I go, okay, that's great. So I'm going to type up here, points 2 and 3 were things, we didn't do when we moved and would have saved us a lot of hassle. Or I could say, not in addition to, but separately, I could say, I wish we would have known these. I'm going to skip it, guys. Don't worry about the typos. Things when we moved Guster from LA to Michigan. So I'm saying, hey, this is why I'm sharing this. This would have been useful information for me. I think this will be useful for you. If you notice, we're not sharing a whole long, paragraph here. I'm not saying to write a novel. I'm just saying, give me a line or give me a couple of lines about why this is interesting. People love to share recipes. If you've got, hey, 5, the Coldwell Banker one time had like 5 fall cocktails to keep you warm this fall or whatever. I could say something like, oh man, that apple cider drink looks amazing. Which one looks like your favorite, or something like that. Or maybe I want to do that. I want to say, I wish we would have known these things when we moved Gus from LA to Michigan. And then I can say, have you ever moved long distances with a pet? What advice do you have? So now I'm asking my audience, give me your advice. What do you guys think? And I'm inviting them into the conversation. And I'm still leaving the link at the bottom here. And I'm still leaving the headline and the title. But you should, when you're sharing something on Facebook, you always want to tell the consumer in some way, shape, or form why you're sharing it. And that doesn't mean, like I said, that doesn't mean you type, I am sharing this because blah, blah, blah. I am sharing this because blah, blah, blah. You're just giving a little bit of insight as to why they should care about this, why this is interesting. So now that I've got my text up there, I've got my photo, I'm just going to click post, and that's going to appear on my business page as a new post. It's as simple as that. Same thing's going to happen with listing websites. If you want to share a listing, you're going to go to that website. I'm just going to search these Michigan listings. I'm not even going to pick a CB listing. I'm just going to pick one that I see. let's pick this. No, I don't want land. I want an actual home. Let's do this listing here. I'm going to click on new tab up here on this Moxie website to make sure that I'm getting a link just for this listing. And I'm going to do exactly what I said earlier, guys. Let me refresh this real quickly here. I'm going to look at this listing. I'm going to go up here and right click, copy. I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to the right of post and I'm going to paste it. The photo should pull over. And now with a listing, I'm going to share something else. I'm going to say new listing. And you know what? Maybe I want to say hot new listing. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do the flame emoji. Because guess what? It's hot. And honestly, guys, emojis bring attention to our posts. We've seen that we do sometimes get more action on the post if we're using emojis like this. So hot new listing, beautiful Grand Rapids home. And I'm just going to, I don't want to write all the marketing remarks. I'm just going to write a little bit. So I'm going to say 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and a stunning chef's kitchen. And then I'm going to give them a piece of advice. Here's what I'm going to say. Click below to see more. So I'm giving them an action. Hey, you think this is cool? Click below to see more of this listing. Click below to see what's going on. And then I'm going to post it, and people can click on it, see the link, and do it. So again, when you're sharing a listing, you do want to share a little bit, but you want to entice people, but you don't want to share all the marketing remarks, because if I see a whole 3 or 4 paragraph body, I'm not going to read it. Virginia just asked a fantastic question. Do you post listings from the MLS or from your Coldwell Banker site? Which is best? That's a great question. And my answer is you should be sharing from one of your brokerage websites. Whether that is FL, it's going to differ from region to region, but in Florida, whether that's flcoldwellbanker.com or it's going to be cbfloridahomes.com. Whether that's c21schmidtrealestate.com or whether it is something else like CB Great Lakes or Coldwell Banker or whatever your brokerage is, always share from one of those sites. And here's the flip of that. My professional opinion here, do not share your MLS links to Facebook. I know it's the easiest way to do it. I know that when you are putting a new listing in, it gives you the little link to share it. But I would not share from the MLS. And here's the reason, guys. The MLS is meant for realtors. It is meant for us professionals to know the information, to be able to look for what we're looking for, but it is not a consumer-friendly looking site. I can't search for more properties as a consumer. I need to have a login with an agent to look at more. The setup 99.9% of the time is a bunch of text and a couple little photos in the corner. It is not a consumer-friendly site. Whereas if you share from this site, look at this. Photos right across the top. Price and bed and bath right across the top. My contact info would be right here. This is a consumer-friendly site. So always share from a consumer site, not from the MLS. Now, how you choose which one you want to do, that's going to be up to you. Do you leverage Zap a lot? Do you leverage Moxie a lot? Which one of those you share from is going to be dependent on what you normally use. So if you're just like killing it on Zap, does my screen have a dead cell in it? Oh man, I've got a dead cell in my. You guys can't see that because my screen just appeared out of nowhere. It's so crazy. What is best is going to be what's best for you. If I'm using Moxie like there's no tomorrow, I'm going to drive people to my Moxie website. If I'm using Zap and I've got all my leads and my clients in Zap, I'm going to use coldwellbanker.com. So it's really going to depend on what you use because you want to direct people where you want to direct them. But the real answer is do not use the MLS. Just don't share from the MLS. Okay, so then I would click post here and bada boom, this would again go to my page. Real quick, guys, if it's your listing, awesome. Share it. Have a great day. If you're sharing somebody else's listing, there's one thing that you have to do, and there's one thing that I recommend doing. If you're sharing somebody else's listing, you have to give credit to that listing. So I'm seeing Ted rocking his shades right now. If I was sharing Ted's listing to Facebook, I would, and maybe it's because I'm hosting an open house at that property this weekend. I could say let's let's just edit this one. Maybe I could say open house alert, and I have the beautiful Grand Rapids home, 3 beds, 2 baths. I'll say I'm hosting an open house Saturday, 12 to 2 p.m. Stop on by. But then underneath that, I would need to say listing provided by. Oops, I can't get your name right, Ted. It's an easy name, Ted Curran. Just like that. I would need to give credit to the listing agent, just like that. That's something as a company we've decided we have to do. We want our agents to be giving credit to our other agents, and the reason is because we have seen agents try to share other listings and disguise them as their own. And that's just false advertising, guys. You can tell. I've seen people take this and say, contact me for a private tour, and then still say listing provided by so-and-so. You can share the reason why they should contact you. You don't have to direct them to that person, but you need to give credit where credit's due. And you can't start taking luxury listings from all these other brokerages and companies and pretend that they're yours. So you have to do that. If they're from another brokerage, I don't, again, this starts to get a little bit wacky, but I've seen it happen enough that I want to share it. If you're sharing someone's listing from another brokerage, you have to say that as well. So I'd have to say concurrent with Century 21 Schmidt Real Estate, right? If it's not my brokerage, I have to share the brokerage as well. Now, here's the other piece of advice that I would recommend, and I know that people have differing opinions on this, so I'm sharing mine. Ask the agent before you do it, guys. Ask the listing agent, is it okay if I share my listing on Facebook? Share your listing on my business page. If you were asking me that, I'd say absolutely. As long as you give me credit, share away. Because guess what? That's more exposure for my listing. But I have seen more, it's not uncommon for people to say, no, I don't want you to share my listing on your business page. And that's their prerogative. You might not technically legally be doing anything wrong, but I've seen at least 2 instances over the past 2 years where it's blown up. Where we had an agent share a listing in their community. They even gave the proper credit and everything for the different brokerage, for the agent and everything, but they didn't ask that agent, and that agent freaked out. They had their broker call our broker, and it was this whole big mess, and it was so avoidable. I'm not blaming our agent. I definitely think the other agent, overreacted in my personal opinion, but if she would have said, hey, do you mind if I share your listing? And that person said, no, I don't want you to. You could have gone, okay, and picked a different listing. So if you're sharing somebody else's listing, I would recommend asking for their permission if that's okay with you, if that's okay with them, and then posting away. So I mentioned this a second ago with the content, but share stuff that matters to you. I am not a gardener. My wife loves gardening. If I were trying to share lifestyle content that was about gardening, it would feel forced. It would feel not really that personal because I don't know what I'm talking about, and I don't care what I'm talking about. So share stuff that's related to you. Now, don't turn your website, your Facebook page into a different sort of thing. What I mean by that is, like I said, I always talk dogs and soccer, right? Our community has a local soccer team, a minor league soccer team. I might share their post on my business page every once in a while because it's a community thing. It's a local thing that's happening. Or I might share more pet-oriented content, the tips about helping your pets move, or tips about, maybe pictures of my dogs with a Coldwell Baker bandana. But I can't make my business page a dog page, or I can't make my business page a soccer page. It is still for me as a realtor and as a digital mayor. So find websites, find blogs that you're interested in, but also at the end of the day, make sure that you're not going too far in any of these directions. Because again, those categories that I was sharing with you guys, it's a balance. You can't do just listings. You can't do just videos. You can't do just lifestyle content. You need to balance all of these things. So let's move on to ads, guys. We're hoping to wrap up within the next 15 minutes. I want to talk really quickly about boosting a post and advertising. And again, we'll talk more about this in depth next week, but I do want to go over this a little bit toward the end here. This article, let's say I wanted to boost. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Before we get that far into that, let's get on here to advertising. So, like we said before, Facebook ads are a cheap and effective way to advertise. You can customize the ad, the audience, the format, etc. We have some costs there, and you get some analytics. However, too often, I hear people tell me Facebook advertising doesn't work. And I'm sorry if I shared this story last week. I'll try to make it a quick one. But I had an agent once tell me that Facebook doesn't work. And I said, okay, how many ads have you done? He said, I've done 3 ads now. And I said, over what period of time? He said, the past 9 months. And all of those 3 ads, he had done 3 days worth of advertising for each ad. So 3 ads for 3 days is 9 days. And he had done that over 9 months. So he advertised 1 day a month for 9 months. That's not Facebook being ineffective. That's our mindset being ineffective. If I put a billboard up for a day and took it down, and then next month on July 1st I put it up for a day and then took it down on the 2nd, and then August 1st I put it up for a day, and I don't get to say billboards don't work. Well, it's because I'm only putting them up for a day. I can't run a commercial on TV and run it for 1 day and go, oh, TV doesn't work, right? It's not about that. It's about consistency and making sure you're using the platform well. Additionally, and we'll talk about this next week and this week a little bit, make sure that your ad matches your objective. And that's what we're going to talk about on this next slide here. So before you do an ad, I would recommend asking yourself 3 big questions. I'm not saying you need to write these down every time and have answers to these like school, but the flip of what I shared about the guy with the 9 days, the flip is that Facebook ads can become so easy to do that you do so many of them without thinking about what you're doing, and then you again don't get any return because you're not thinking about what you're doing. So there are 3 questions that I think you should ask yourself before you do an ad. Number 1, what are my goals? What am I trying to achieve out of this ad? Am I trying to, I'm a new agent. Am I trying to get people to associate me with real estate, to try to get to know me through a video? Am I trying to get just leads? I'm just doing a lead generating ad. I want to start, contacting some new leads. Am I trying to gain exposure for one of my listings so that I can, tell my seller all this great stuff I'm doing for them? What are my goals? Number 2, what does success look like? So this is what I always come back to with agents a lot. It probably infuriates them. I should probably stop it. But an agent will say, my Facebook ad didn't work. And I'll say, well, what were you trying to achieve? What was your goal? And they'll go, well, I don't know, just to get more exposure. I was like, okay, so, if you're unsure about what success looks like, how do you know if it succeeded or not? I can't run a mile and then just go, oh, I was too slow or I was too fast if I don't have any benchmark. If I'm just running a mile and I run a 7:40 mile, I can't just go, that's great or that's horrible if I don't have a personal best I'm trying to beat or a goal I'm trying to reach. You need to have bars to know what determines success and what doesn't determine success. It doesn't mean you need to have it doesn't mean you need to say I want 3,500 new people to click on my ad, or I want 1,200 views on my video, but you need to have some sort of idea of what it looks like for your ad to be successful. And then the third question, who are you trying to reach? Who is your audience here? And that's part where the Facebook audience stuff will come into play. So what are your goals? What are your goals? What does success look like, and who are you trying to reach? So we're going to talk about how to do an ad on Facebook now. Now, this is one of a couple methods on how to do it, but it is the way that most of us do it, and it is still an effective way to do this. So let's just say, for an example, I'm not going to do this, but let's say I wanted to boost this article, right? If I were to boost this and share this, pay for other people to see this, what would I be trying to get out of that? Well, I can't think I'm going to generate leads because it's an article. It's not sending people to a lead form. I can't think it's going to bring exposure to my listing because I'm not sharing a listing. I'm sharing an article. So if I were to do this, my goal might just be exposure, to try to get some new likes to my page, to try to get people to, come follow me. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's more about making sure that what you're trying to achieve matches the method you're using to achieve it. I'm not going to screw some wood together with a hammer. I like to have good metaphors. I'm not always good at coming up with the good metaphors. Let's talk about our virtual open houses, right? Let me go to the luxury page real quick. These virtual open houses we do across our company. Our goal with the virtual open house was to get exposure to our listings. Originally, in a time of lacking personal open houses, but also now just getting exposure to our listings because it's building our pages up and it's getting exposure for our brand. So, whoops, turn the music off. Our goal was to get exposure for people to see the listings. So a video was a perfect ad format because video ads get shared far more on Facebook, and we'll talk about that in a couple weeks. But if I were trying to generate leads and I want 30 new leads, well, this format might not be great because this is nothing about lead gen. This is about exposure to listings. So I hope I've hammered that home a little bit, but make sure your ad format matches your objective. So I'm going to go back to my business page, my test page here. And for the sake of it, let's just pretend that I wanted to boost this this listing that I have down here. My goal is exposure. Let me scroll down to what I'm looking for. So again, guys, boosting a post means sharing it with a targeted audience. So you can see my post right here. It says boost post right underneath it here. That means I want to make an advertisement for my post. So I'm going to click boost post. This is the screen where we make our ad. Now, one thing to note, guys, this post that we were just looking at here, that's this post that we're looking at, that is going to be my advertisement. So you want to make sure that you spell the words right. You want to make sure your grammar is correct and that it has a hook in it and it's clear what you're trying to do. So make sure your post looks the way it is because it's very difficult to edit it after you've started running the ad. It's much easier to take a look at it now, make a couple tweaks. If I wanted to change it, if I click on these three dots up here in the upper right hand corner of the post, I can click edit post and then I can change some of this text. And maybe I want to say open house Saturday, like I said earlier, 12 to 2, something like that. I can click done. And now I've edited it there before I had to go in and make an ad. And it's a lot more complicated to do it the other way. So I'm going to click boost post right here, guys. And so we've seen the ad on the right. Now it says desktop newsfeed. I can click this menu and see all of the other places it's going to appear and what it's going to look like. Here's how my ad's going to look on Instagram. Here's how it's going to look on a mobile device. Here's how it's going to look in the Messenger inbox, right? I can see all of my ads, all of my different versions right here by clicking preview. Now what we're going to focus on is the left-hand side of this screen. So, objective. What results would you like from this post? Well, my objective is to get exposure to my listing. I want people to click on this and see this listing. So this top option right here, send people to your website, it's exactly what I want to do. Perfect. The other option you can see here is get more people to react, to comment, to share. Basically get people to see or to click on my post, but like it or share it. Not as powerful for your business. Listen, we're social creatures. We love seeing 30 likes on a post or 15 shares or 30 comments. But if that's not actually bringing success and bringing new business to you, it might not be worth all that much. Whereas people to your website, being able to look at the listing, might be more effective. So we're going to leave that as is. We're going to keep it as send people to your website. Next is the post button. Now it says optional. I'm telling you guys, it's not optional. You want to have a post button. This one says learn more. If we go over here, you'll see that it says learn more right here. That's where that button's going to appear. So if I take learn more and I make it say, send a message, now it's going to say send message. And if someone clicks on that, it's going to allow them to send me a message through Messenger. So this add a post button, you have the option to say no button. I would not ever use that. Always have a button. So I'm going to keep it learn more because that's what I want them to do. This is the most important part right here, guys. This is the part that is stopping a lot of us from doing our ads. Special ad category. This was the big change Facebook made last August for real estate, employment, and housing. If you are doing an ad for housing-related services, you have to check this box. I'm not going to get into the history of it right now. We don't really have the time for that. But it's not just listings. right? So this is where people try to get around it. Well, it's not for a listing. This is just for, people should list with me. Well, that's still a housing related service, and the verbiage of their requirements includes that. So what you have to do is toggle the switch on, turn special ad category on, and then make sure you go from employment and you pick housing. If you do not do this, your ad will get stopped. When it goes into the Facebook review, you will get paused and you'll have to resubmit the ad. So make sure you turn special ad category on and you make sure you pick housing. The next part is your audience. This is the big part, guys. Who do you want to see your ad? So I'm going to click edit. I actually already have one pretty well made right here, but I'm going to show you guys what we have to do. So gender and age, we can't change. We have to keep that the way it is. Locations. Let me take these locations out of here real quick. And then we also take these interests out of here, just so we can start from scratch, okay? I can add any city, or I think can you do county still? Can you do county? I think sometimes you can do, you can do county. So any city or county, and I can drop a pin in that city. And let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to put Holland, Michigan, which is where I'm based out of. I'm going to start typing it. There it is. I'm going to click Holland, Michigan. And it's going to default to a center map. That's not going to do it. It's going to default to a 15-mile radius of that city. Here it is right here. 15-mile radius from that city. Anything that falls under this radius will see my ad. But if I take this, if I click on 15, I can drag it from a minimum of 15 all the way up to a 50-mile radius of the area. So it doesn't just have to be, now look how big this radius is. So it doesn't just have to be 15 miles. You can go up to 50. But you can add as many locations as you want. I can add Chicago. I can add Traverse City. Just keep in mind, the more places you add, the more spread out your ad's going to be. But all you have to do is type a location in, and then work with the radius if you want to change that. So for the sake of this, I'm going to do Holland. I'm going to keep it actually a 30-mile radius, a 25-mile radius, just for this test. And then I'm going to add Traverse City up there because, hey, you know what? Maybe someone's coming down from Traverse City to look at properties down here. Now, where you target an ad is going to, again, depend on the advertisement, guys. If I have a home listed for $150 downtown Holland, chances are it's going to be someone local who buys it. So I'm going to target the Holland area. If I have a luxury listing at $2.5 million on the lake, that person could come from Chicago. They could come from Detroit. They could come from Traverse City. So I'm going to expand my audience a little bit. Who you target is going to change depending on the ad. The ads usually appeal to a much. Yeah. So, and that's a great point that's exactly what I'm saying, Virginia, is that the more, depending on your location, depending on what you're advertising, you may want to add additional locations. If you're trying to brand yourself locally, well, then you're probably going to want to keep the ad local. But if you have a lot of people who come to your markets, which is a huge thing in Florida, you might want to add those other locations. And honestly, that's going to start to, be determined by what you think is best. Does it make more sense? I'm just throwing this out there, to target Chicago, or does it make more sense to target New York? Maybe it makes sense to target both. And I'll talk about this towards the end here. The more places you add, the wider your audience is going to get. So if I spend $10 to just target Traverse City, well then, hey, my $10 is going to be just going to stay within there, and everyone who sees it's going to be in Traverse City. But if I try to spend $10 over all of these locations, well, at that point, now I have a lot of other places that I'm spreading my ad out, and I'm not saturating one market as much. So I hope that makes a little. I'm just going to keep the chat up in the corner. You're very welcome, Serge. I'm glad you're enjoying this. So, I know that we're over, guys, so I'm going to try to wrap this up, but this is obviously an important part. So we picked our locations. Now it's the detailed targeting. This is the stuff that sets Facebook apart from these other places. I can start typing stuff in to see what comes up, or I can click Browse, and I can see all of these categories that I can target on Facebook. All of these interests that I can target for consumers on Facebook. So I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to show you guys the things that I'd always recommend using. Real estate. Guess what? If someone's interested in real estate, they should probably see my ad. Zillow. If somebody has recently visited Zillow, they might be thinking of buying or selling homes, or they're interested in properties. I'm going to add that as a target. Maybe I want to do the same with Realtor.com. There it is, Realtor.com. And then for the last one, I'm just going to add house hunting, because again, probably pretty good. So now I am targeting people who live in Holland and Traverse City within these radiuses who are interested in house hunting or real estate or Realtor.com or Zillow or a mixture of those. That's my audience. People in those areas interested in those things. I'm going to click save. The last thing I have to choose, guys, how much money do I want to spend? How long do I want my ad to run for? So I get this a lot. Well, then you have to put in your payment information and click boost. But I get this a lot. How much does Facebook cost? There's two answers to that. One, the minimum is $1 a day. 7-day ad's going to cost you minimum $7. 30-day ad's going to cost you minimum $30. But the real question is, well, how much do you want to spend? How many people do you want to reach? If I spend $10 over a week and you spend $20 over a week, you're going to reach twice as many people as me. If you spend $50, you're going to reach 5 times as many people as me. So the more you spend, the more people you reach. I mean, it really does come down to that. So you can see right here, I can take this 7 and I can say I'm actually going to spend $100 over the next week. And it's going to tell me, okay, you're reaching anywhere between 2,300 to 6,600 people per day on average. If your ad's a really good ad, it's going to be on the higher end of that range. If your ad's not connecting with people, it's going to be on the lower end of that range. But one thing I want to make clear is this term right here, total budget. I'm not doing $100 per day. I'm doing $100 total over 7 days. And if I change this, 7, if I change it to 30, I'm going to spend $100 over 30 days. So no matter my length, I'll still reach about the same amount of people, but it'll just be spread out or it will be compact. Unless it's an open house, I recommend doing an ad for at least, 5 days minimum, 7 days minimum. There's no reason, if you have a new listing, there's no reason to do it for 3 or 4 days unless it goes under contract, in which case you can turn the ad off. But I would much rather see you guys do ads for a more like a medium period of time than a long or a really short period of time. Okay? So you pick your duration, you pick your budget, and then you just click boost over here in the lower right-hand corner. You click boost, and boom, your ad is off. It has to go under a little review to make sure you're not breaking any of Facebook's advertising rules, any of their guidelines like that. And again, if you don't check this little box up here for your special ad category, it will get flagged and your ad will be turned around to you. So make sure you turn this box on, but then you'll get a little, I'm going to cancel that out. Then you'll get a little notification. Oh man, I don't know if I have any recently. You'll get a notification that says, hey, your ad's off to the races. You're good to go. Once your ad starts running, you can look at the analytics as it's going. For example, going back to the luxury page here, when I go down to the virtual open house ad for this specific page, you can see it says finishes in 2 days. This ad right here, it's still, let me zoom in for you. It's still going. This ad's still live, and I can look at the live analytics right now. And once it's done, it'll say, you'll get a notification, hey, your ad's done. Go look at the results. So you can go there and look at the results from that. So guys, that's been a full 75 minutes. These results are, always see how your ads are doing. Always take a look at your results, but they're super, super powerful and important. I know that this is a lot. I know that we're already at 75 minutes, and of course this will be recorded for you to go back and reference. Does anybody have any last minute questions? We still have 2, and hey, maybe we'll even throw in another third session in this series, which would make it the 5th session, if we have too much stuff that we can't fit in. But does anybody have any questions about what we've covered today? In terms of takeaways, content is key. Content is king is the phrase that people use a lot. What you post will determine how successful your page is and how often you post. You want to post at least, if you can do it, at least once a day. 5 days a week minimum, you should be posting content. Because again, if you post 5 times a week, you've got 5 chances to be seen by your audience. If you post one time a week, you've got one chance to be seen by your audience. The more you post, the more opportunities you have to share. Virginia, I'm going to talk about video in a couple of weeks. You can copy and paste YouTube links, like your Listings to Leads videos. You can copy and paste those to your Facebook page, but I do not recommend it. And I'm going to tell you why in a couple of weeks. But the short answer is that Facebook and YouTube do not get along. They see themselves as competitors, and they hide each other's content. So you can post videos to Facebook. You can post Listings to Leads links. Lead gen is what Peter's going to talk about next week, and video is what I'm going to talk about the week after that. So it looks like the next 2 sessions are going to be awesome for you. But that's it today, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening to me ramble. Hopefully you found some value here. As always, if you have any questions, if you have anything you want to follow up on, send me an email, send me a note, and we'll figure those things out, and we can talk about it. Have a great weekend, guys. It's Friday afternoon. Buzz off. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for your time.